Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. If you have a gardening question you'd like our host Fred Howard to answer, send him an email. The email address is fred@planttalkradio.com. Now for today's question.
I have a question about hydrangeas.
Okay, so do I. Go ahead.
I planted 2 bushes about 10 years ago, and they are the most beautiful full bushes every year, but I only get 1 flower on each one.
Okay, well, you're being cheated.
And I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Nothing at all. The chances are, and that's why I have lots of questions. There are better answers than I carry in my head, but hydrangea is a contrary plant in this regard. That there are some that won't tolerate the cold here that absolutely flourish in the southern climes, and then reverse of that. Then there are the breeders who have taken a hold of the beauties of the hydrangea in terms of flower color and size and shape and so on, and they have crossed them backwards and forwards, and they've come up with some new plants, still hydrangea, still technically the same, but what you probably have is one of the older forms, and I guess I should ask, where do you live? What part of the state?
I live in Mineral City, Ohio.
Okay. It does vary by location, but when it gets too cold, hydrangeas can have flower buds killed. Now, there are, I'm going to say woody types of hydrangeas, which great big shrubs up 8, 10, 12 feet tall. And then there are the ones that are of what are called soft tissue. And then what you may have is 1 or 2, as it is, that are quite hardy as plants, beautiful big plants as you've spoken, but the flower buds, independent of the vegetative or green buds, are not hardy. They get frozen every year during, whenever, January, February, March, back and forth and so on. And I have a hunch that your plants are standing in a spot where it does fluctuate in temperature. It probably can get colder than those internal, we're down to 1 cell or 2, no bigger than that. So you certainly can't see this happening. But where the flower buds are actually killed within the tissue of the plant, and the vegetative buds are not bothered at all. So back into this big, beautiful plant again. And then I guess I should tell you, not being too facetious, but count the blessings of having 1 flower on each plant. Mother Nature, you might take a picture of those. But at the same time, it becomes very confusing. And I'm one that can't quite separate it in my head. Some of the more beautiful hydrangeas now are the ones that flower both on old wood, as it is called, and new wood. Let me just explain that a little bit. Old wood is where the flower bud was formed sometime this fall, and it will come through the winter, and there will be flowers on that tissue for the following year. Then the other types of hydrangeas, which are crossed back and forth, have buds that are going to send out with the new growth, sometimes coming clear from the ground on up. The flower buds will form on the new stems, the succulent new growth. So they've even now gotten to where they can combine the old growth, new growth, so you get a hydrangea that can flower more than once, some almost continuous. And I think you just have, in terms of that 10-year-old, one of the older forms that simply is a good hardy shrub, does lots of beautiful things for you, but covet those 2 flowers.
When you said something about there's woody and then there's the flexible.
Right.
These are very stiff woody.
Okay, and do they grow? Let me ask. Do they die back to the ground and come on up, or do they stand as a shrub all year round?
They die back.
Okay, and I think. Well, I have to say,
I wanted to tell you they're both blue.
Okay. Well, count your blessings.
I don't know if that
there.
makes a difference.
Well, it does. Blue takes acid in the soil, or a lot of other chemistry changes, and count yourself as lucky with the blue ones, because sometimes blue are those least apt to give us any flower at all.
Hey, thanks again for listening to our podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our other podcasts as well, the Plant of the Week podcast and the Plant Talk Radio podcast, all on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. If you'd like to sponsor a daily podcast, contact us at fred@planttalkradio.com. To find out more about Fred Hauer and Plant Talk Radio, visit our website, planttalkradio.com.
Circle270media.com